Hi everyone, hope you're all doing well. I'm really excited today to talk about The Comfort Crisis by Michael Easter. So while you're watching this video or listening to it, maybe you want to do the splits, a headstand, put on your rucksack, bundle up and brave the elements. We are going to embrace discomfort in this video. So let's dive in. Do I recommend The Comfort Crisis? Yes. I do recommend the book. I think it's very thought-provoking, well-researched. I really appreciate how Michael incorporates this strong storytelling element with a lot of rich data and research and interviews with experts. And it was interesting to hear it took Michael 2 years to write the book. He put in 80 hours a week, so definitely a labor of love and quite a bit of intellectual curiosity as well. There are 3 caveats, however, that I would like to share if you're considering reading the book. First off, as I mentioned, there is this interwoven storytelling aspect where we hear about Michael's wilderness adventure in Alaska. And then there's also this rich research piece. And I think for some people who appreciate more of a linear style of writing, they may or may not like being in Alaska one minute and then being in Bhutan and hearing from a PhD. So something to consider. I found, as someone who's kind of in between right and left brain, that I was very stimulated. I'm like, ooh, the storytelling really ignited my right brain. I'm like, is Michael gonna survive in the Alaskan wilderness? And then my left brain was diving in to the facts and figures and thinking about how they applied to my life and others. So something to consider. The second caveat is if you're not at all into hunting, you never will hunt, you don't eat meat, you don't like to think about animals being killed, then I would say, learning more about this caribou hunting trip in Alaska may or may not appeal to you. And honestly, I do fall into this category. I'm not at all a hunter, even though I grew up being surrounded by hunting in the Midwest. My dad is actually a hunter. I tried to remain open-minded, and I focused more on what would it be like to be in Alaska, like living in this teepee, surviving on Cliff Bars, not showering. A lot of admiration for Michael placing himself in this level of discomfort. I did skip over parts of the book where the caribou is being killed. I'm like, I just do not have the stomach for that. And so if you are like anti-hunting, then, this book may not be the best fit for you. The third caveat I would share is a large portion of the world's population already lives in a state of discomfort. Anywhere from 600 to 700 million people are living in a state of poverty. And you think about as well, just the people being impacted in Ukraine, in the Middle East, the amount of despair they're experiencing, it's absolutely heartbreaking. There's already so much discomfort that many people face, whether it's wondering where food will come from, being unhoused, wondering when the next bomb will hit. When I think about who is the best audience for this book, it's likely someone who lives in a well-developed country, someone who has enough food, money in the bank, they have a house, they're just very comfortable and they're living a somewhat cushy lifestyle. And as a result, they may feel they're going through the motions, they're on autopilot, they're sleepwalking through life. They may feel like malaise, languishing, they've lost their zest for life. I want to call that out because I know there was, some criticism about the book, very fair. I nerd bombed out and I read a lot of reviews on Amazon and Goodreads. Just as a fun side note, there were women who were like, look, have a baby and carry that baby around. That's uncomfortable. So I think that anyone can learn from this book if you have been very blessed to live a comfortable life. So there are 3 themes I wanted to share from the book. But first, I want to read this quote that really encompasses these themes. If you have the book you'd like to follow along, I'm on page 5. So here it is. Most people today rarely step outside their comfort zones. We are living progressively sheltered, sterile, temperature-controlled, overfed, under-challenged, safety-netted lives. And it's limiting the degree to which we experience our one wild and precious life, as poet Mary Oliver put it. So the 3 themes that stood out from the book: number 1, we're overfed, we're undernourished. Number 2, we're not moving as much as we should. Number 3, we're dealing with quite a bit of stress in our lives. So let's dive in. What does it mean to be overfed and undernourished? Well, I did some research and learned that over half of the calories Americans consume are from ultra-processed food. I have this lovely example here. What are ultra-processed foods? You can think of them as frankenfoods. So they are industrial creations, a lot of sugar, fat. They really have no whole foods whatsoever. So an example, we have these, I think they're pronounced Takis, Blue Heat, nothing like consuming some hot chili pepper, artificially flavored tortilla chips. I read the ingredients. I was like, what are in these? I mean, it's like Blue One Lake, TBHQ, that's very concerning, disodium guanylate. Just to give you an idea, this bag has over 500 calories, 28 grams of fat, and I'm thinking, like, how full would you be if you ate this bag of chips? So then I bought some fun kids ultra-processed foods, very appealing. We have Super Mario on the front. These are Funables. First ingredient, corn syrup. Second ingredient, sugar. We also have some blue dye, yellow, red, sodium citrate. If you wonder why your kids are bouncing off the walls, well, food could definitely play an issue. And ultra-processed foods are such a huge concern because they can impact our mental health. There's been research done to show they may impact our gut microbiome. We're not sure what are the long-term implications of eating 50% or more of our calories from these types of foods for 10, 20, 50 years. As a result of not actually eating real foods, we often don't feel well. Then we move on to the second theme. We're also not moving. So we're consuming all this excess sugar and fat, and the average American does not move. 27% of Americans do no exercise whatsoever. Only 20% of Americans get the recommended daily allowance of exercise, which is about 150 minutes per week, about 20 minutes per day. And by the way, the bar is pretty low, folks. That includes like mowing the lawn or vacuuming. No wonder people just feel like a blob. You're not eating food that really fuels you and makes you feel alive, and you're not getting out there and moving. And you think about the quote, like, you either move it or you lose it. I think over time your body can just break down. I do want to be mindful, however, that this food can often be cheap. I bought these 5 boxes of candy. I do not eat this stuff, by the way, nothing wrong with it. There's a time and a place, like going to the movies, but these 5 boxes of candy were only $5. And you think about, too, for a busy family, maybe they don't have a lot of money, go through the drive-thru and you can get a whole meal for the family at a fairly reasonable price. So, I do understand for some people, it's like processed foods, especially ultra-processed foods, could be the best option. But I think for people who really are struggling with their weight, they have the financial means to eat whole, fresh foods, simply reducing the amount of crap that you eat can make a huge difference in how you feel. So the third theme is around stress. How many people do you know, maybe yourself included, are stressed to the max? You ask someone, hey, how are you doing? And they answer with, I'm overwhelmed. I'm super busy. I just feel like I have so much going on. And I think it's interesting to consider, like, how much of that self are we creating? How much is in our control? And then how much technology are we consuming? So in the book, Michael shares that the average American touches their phone over 2,600 times a day. It's a lot of time, a lot of intimate connection with our phone. The average American is looking at their screen for 2.5 hours. We have these super users who are on their phones for 4 hours. And I'm thinking that is time that we could be in nature. That's time where we could be meditating or just allowing our mind to wander. We could be moving. I do want to recognize though that in some cases, the phone can be very efficient. So I met this woman at the gym and she was on the cross trainer. She's like, I love it. I'm ordering groceries for my family. I'm getting my workout in. I'm like, hey, you go. You know, she's a business owner. She has 2 small kids. So there are advantages to technology. I worked in tech for 10 plus years. I'm a big fan of technology. I just think that there can be more moderation. And you have to ask yourself, is technology benefiting or do I feel like a ping pong ball and my mind is constantly bouncing, all over the place? Am I scrolling endlessly when I could be moving out of my comfort zone? So that is an overview of the comfort crisis. I'm going to make another video where I dive into a more tactical approach as to how you can implement more discomfort into your life, how you can shake up your life and really challenge yourself. So if you have read The Comfort Crisis, I would love to hear from you. What did you think about the book? So thank you everyone for tuning in. I really appreciate you watching. And if you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. Feel free to subscribe and we'll see more videos in the future. Take care everyone. Bye-bye.